Hey tubers, welcome back for another adventure, and it's about time this thing grew a chain and new sprockets. I have everything I need, so let's start the install process. By the way, it's KMC chain. Doesn't say anything on the sprocket, so they're probably some kind of knockoff. The chain does fit. The new chain fits well. The old chain, there's kind of a bag over here. And for the small sprocket, the old chain just doesn't wrap around without bagging up on it. So obviously it needs both. So how hard is this to do? I mean, spin the bolts out on the sprocket. There are 3 of them. Makes it a little easier if you kind of lock it in place with the vice grips so it's not spinning. You can try putting it in gear, but depending on how tight these are, they might also fight you. And then just kind of the lock ring, you kind of spin that to a neutral position, pop it out, and the sprocket should come right off. I really hate when they weld these on, right? Because that means you're stuck with every sprocket's on there. And when it's time for a change, what do? Tear apart the entire bike? So anyway, I am going to check this sprocket to see how well it fits the chain. It might not be dead yet. It doesn't look too horrible. I didn't loosen the wheels up yet. I mean, these hubs are horrible. I'm going to have to get some washers on that. I mean, just what needs to happen is when the hub bolt, take that off, put a couple of washers to snug them up, because when they're this loose, it's just a matter of time before they strip the hubs out, and they're beaten up on the axle splines, so you want to get that done. By the way, holding that that sprocket to the back axle, they used every piece of hardware this side of the Mississippi. SAE, metric and SAE, it's like battling me to remove it. So the back sprocket is off, and this goes under the land of sometimes things don't come out the way you want them to. I could not find a listing for chain, sprocket, front and back for a 1980 Honda ATC 185. I couldn't find it. So I thought to myself, well, let me get the 200S version. Worst comes to worst, I could probably Mickey Mouse it on there somehow or another. Well, you could see the bright ones, the new one on the bottom, and you could see the mounting holds do not line up, and the center would need to be removed. So there is kind of a way around it, right? I mean, I could theoretically take this off and, drill it here. I could work it cutting all that out. Seems like it'll be really painful, so we're not going to play that. I'm going to put this aside for a new machine. I don't know how much chain and sprocket work you guys have done. It really is not the smartest thing to put a brand new chain on old sprockets. So with that, I dug through the hoard, and I had dug this one up, but this chain is so crazy stretched that that's not going to work. Then I found this guy, and this guy goes on here pretty well, right? And though it's worn, it does seem to go on nice enough. And there isn't, what you look for is a big bag in the back, and it doesn't look too bad. So I'm going to put the old sprocket back on. Old sprockets, I'm going to use the old sprocket in the front also and just go with this used chain. I guess I have a spare sprocket and chain set for a Honda 200S now, which isn't a bad thing. And generally speaking, I'm going to start keeping my eyes open. Probably there's a motorcycle or something with this pitch, with this spacing, that I can borrow one from. For the time being now, once again, it's far from perfect, but it's not bad. So I guess we're stuck going with it this way for now. So here is the master link, and you can see it's got an opening there. Just kind of think of it as the feathers on an arrow, right? Those are the feathers, and that's the point of the arrow. So anyway, we need to get that off without losing it. Very easy to put this into orbit. Then you got to go to Tractor Supply and go find another one. So let me show you how I get them out of there. It works the best for me. Notice the vice grips kind of holding things stable. And let me set the camera up and I'll show you how I do this. Okay, hopefully the camera's set up well enough where you're not looking at the gray spot on the top of my head. So once again, the openings back here. This is the closed side. I just put a screwdriver here, kind of hold it in place gently. And this is slipped forward. And from here, it's easy to get out, whether I push it forward with pliers or whatever. But remember, keep your hands on it, because it could have a tendency to make that ping sound as it goes off into orbit. Rather than pliers, I'm just going to tap it a little bit more. But I'm only going to hit one leg. And there we go. It's loose. There we go. It's loose. Not lost. Now, don't drop it on the floor. The next piece popped up pretty easily. And this is a fairly well-worn chain. So, without the vice grips on here, make sure I'm still showing it to you. Looks like it'll come right apart. So there we are. Chain is in pieces, and once again, don't lose anything. Now to find the length. So the chain is put on, and you can see it's too long, but luckily it's too long. I could take this out and put the master link in, right? I don't have to mess with the half link. It's probably could use a half link. So it's going to be a little bit loose. And you know what? I just want to get a ride out of this rig to make sure the transmission and everything else is good. So I'm going with it that way. I love redneck builds. I actually have to break the chain here at this connecting link. Now, when I was a kid, I would just put a screwdriver here, right? And beat the hell out of it until the chain popped, damaged the screwdriver and the rest of it. Obviously murder on my father's screwdrivers. They actually have a little machine that does that, and let me show you. Okay, this is an official chain breaker, chain press. When you tighten this thing, there's a pin down there that pushes this pin out of the way, and you just do it to the two pins, and the chain is now broken. See how it kind of hooks on there, really cool. So, the chain breaker. Everyone should have one of these. Okay, I think you guys could see how it pressed it apart, right? The pin just pushed out the chain pins, right? The pin vise just pushed out the pins in the connecting link. So the chain is on there. Right, I got part of the master link on. Oops, wrong piece. There's the cover. Sometimes it's helpful clamp it on there a little bit. By the way, master links, this one is set up for an O-ring chain. If you put it together, if you go to put a non O-ring master link to it, it won't work out. The directionality, right? Just put that on there, slide it up. Right, you want this to go in the direction of the chain. So when I'm going forward, right, once again, picture this is the arrow, this is the front, those are the feathers, right? So you want it to go in the direction of the train, the chain travel. So I'm just gonna clip that right on there and life will be good. Chain is on, not bad. Wheel is a lot tighter than it was. I put a washer on there and I have yet to snug it up. To finish tightening things, one should loosen the bolts up that hold the rear axle to the frame, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. You can see the adjuster on that one. And then use that to pull the axle back. I'm not going to do that. Those bolts have a tendency to break off, especially this one, right? The one located right here. As a matter of fact, no, it's still on there. The reason why this one breaks off, people get moisture in here and they put the bolt on, right? And there's a nut welded to the case here. And the bolt is a little too long, so the end of the threads rust. And then you get part way out and it won't come out anymore. So just something to be aware of when you work on these. Sometimes you don't want to go where you don't need to go, right? I'd rather not break that off. I'll just take it easy a little bit and we'll get a ride out of it. I'm happy. Time for its first ride. The choke is on, so it might be a little luggy. This is a hardtail. By the way, That sounds horrible. Well, I don't know. I think I'm disappointed in the first drive. This has been an example of a all-terrain vehicle where things didn't quite go necessarily as planned. Look, no smoke, she runs good. By the way, it has an upshift pattern, which I believe makes it an 85 or newer